supplements is such a big market.
Hmm.
There's so many out there, and I think it's so hard for like the layman to navigate because they all help with so many different things. So I know for myself, sometimes I'll listen to a podcast where somebody's talking about supplements and I'm like, well, I just need to take everything. Like,
Yeah.
so it's hard to know where to start. But something that I really appreciate you is that you're not dogmatic about it. Like you're
Hmm.
saying, like you share how you can either use only supplements or how you can use supplements in conjunction with other modalities, whether that is medication or, whatever anybody chooses. But I think that it's such a kind of tricky area because people do tend to be really dogmatic about it. A lot of Western medicine people, doctors, which I also like revere doctors. My dad's a doctor. I always say that, like nothing against Western medicine, but a lot of them say like supplements don't work and it's expensive urine, things like that. You
Yeah.
hear these
You
kind of
pee it all out.
cliches. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there isn't the money behind supplements for studies, right? That there is behind
Exactly.
big pharma. So you're just never going to get those double blind placebo studies where then doctors can be like, look, this is the evidence.
Totally. And I talk about that all the time because
Yeah.
people always say, how can you be so passionate about supplements? And how can you say it's made such a huge difference in your life when there aren't a lot of clinical studies to back these things up? But a lot of the clinical studies that are done on different medications, they are funded by other organizations or pharmaceutical companies that have the money to back it up because when they are researching these medications, their whole goal with it is to produce a pharmaceutical that they can then have doctors prescribe for other people to use. And they're going to get their money back on that. But they can't, make a saffron supplement prescription only, or they can't make L-theanine prescription only, right? And so there isn't really a lot of motivation to do these types of studies. There are some studies done, some really great studies on rhodiola, which is an adaptogen I absolutely love, saffron for depression, for anxiety. So there are some studies out there, but you're not going to find the same amount compared to pharmaceutical medications because the motivation to make money just isn't there.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that people need to remember and consider. It's like, of course, it's not in big pharma or like Western medicine. Like, it's not in their best interest for people to be
Yeah.
taking supplements at the end of the day. Some of them, maybe like, I know that, vitamin D is a popular thing because a lot of people are deficient in vitamin D, magnesium, things like that. But when you get into the more niche ones, there tends to just be this attitude that like, no, they don't work. And I personally have benefited from them so much. And I think sometimes like anecdotal evidence is evidence, like there are a lot of things that I've experienced in my life where there's no studies to support what happened, but it's like, well, it happened to me. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's just important to remember that you can use supplements and you can experiment with supplements, but there are different things that you want to like look out for when it comes to using supplements. So how can you supplement safely? Number one, you shouldn't be using supplements that can interact negatively with your medications. So one of the best examples for this is St. John's wort. St. John's wort is a supplement that I typically never recommend anyone to use because it's a CYP3A4 inducer. So what that means is CYP3A4 is a liver enzyme and it helps metabolize almost 50% of all medications, all prescription medications out there, even more probably. And so when you're using St. John's wort, it induces the metabolism of other medications. So say you're taking oral hormonal birth control, that can actually induce the metabolism of it, so it renders it ineffective in your system. And that can cause really negative effects. It can cause unwanted pregnancy or even blood pressure medications. If you take St. John's wort with a blood pressure medication, your blood pressure medication won't work as well. And so that can lead to really negative consequences. So just because something is natural, it doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% safe to use. You should always do your research, but once you've done your research on it and you think that this is something that you do need to use, then I am a huge proponent of using supplements when necessary.
Hmm. Do you think that there are any universal things that people should be taking?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I was actually just speaking about this earlier, but I am a huge fan of omega 3. Omega 3 is one of the strongest anti inflammatories out there alongside with black seed oil. But omega-3 is really great for your heart. It reduces inflammation in your brain and your body. And so when people, especially people who have issues with focus or issues with ADHD, when they supplement with higher doses of omega-3, they find to have more brain clarity, more ability to function because of its strong anti-inflammatory nature. So that's one. The second one that I love, of course, is magnesium glycinate. And I think in the wellness community, that has been such a huge topic and trend, especially in the last 2 years. Magnesium is your relaxation mineral. Over 50% of the US population is deficient in magnesium, and that can lead to issues like depression, anxiety, fatigue, insomnia. So sometimes you'll be feeling really awful and you don't know why until you start supplementing with magnesium. And then I think that the third one would definitely be a B complex. So B vitamins are necessary for your brain to produce more serotonin, for you to have more energy, for digestion, for converting your food into cellular energy. And so, B vitamins, I don't think we get enough of it from food sources these days. So, I'm a huge fan of B complex.
I just started taking one of those after I did some testing.
Yeah,
And magnesium, I feel like that was one things that I've taken that I noticed an immediate benefit
for
from. And
sure.
I think that that's something with supplements that is probably kind of tricky for people. Like we want instant gratification, right? And sometimes it takes a long time for something to produce an effect that you're actually going to feel. Whereas something like magnesium, for me, it was like instantaneously. It was kind of like a missing puzzle piece. I was like, whoa, I feel so much better. Oh, L-theanine too.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
love
if I take
L-theanine.
like, I don't know how many, maybe 300 milligrams, like 2 capsules of
Mm,
L-theanine, instant
you're locked in.
calming. Yeah,
Yeah.
locked in. So, how do you recommend people go about like deciding where to start? So, you have these supplements that you recommend
Mhm.
everybody can benefit from. But do you think that people should get like specific testing and look for deficiencies to figure out like really how to
Totally.
get niche with
Yeah.
them? Or are there kind of places that we can all start?
I think that everyone can start with using the omega-3 and using magnesium because chances are you will really benefit from it. The only scenario where you can't use an omega-3 is if you're on blood thinners, just because it can thin out your blood more if you're on something like warfarin. But for the average individual, it's completely fine. And then that's like a good base. So I kind of think about it like a pyramid. So you have your base, and then you have the supplements that you take due to deficiencies. So you want to get a full blood panel at least like once a year. So you can go to a functional doctor to do this. You can do micronutrient testing, even, as a really great place to start. And so then you want to address your deficiencies. And then at the very top of the pyramid are supplements that just help you feel better. So this can be supplements for focus if you want to perform a little bit better, supplements for anxiety. If you just want to calm down your nerves, then you would take something like rhodiola or L-theanine, right, like you said,
Is
right?
rhodiola like instantly also?
Rhodiola is an energizing adaptogen. So
Ooh.
adaptogens, they help your body adapt to stress better. And I have found that adaptogens like ashwagandha or rhodiola, they do work very quickly in the body, similar to L-theanine. Ashwagandha is a sedating adaptogen, so I recommend that at nighttime just to kind of chill and get some good sleep. And then rhodiola is energizing, so it actually uplifts your body. It reduces those feelings of fatigue that you might get if you are ever really stressed out and like depleted.
Mhm.
So I
Me
do
all
love
the time. I need
adaptogens.
that.
You need rhodiola.
Yeah. Um, I want to talk about the different kinds of magnesium because I
Yeah.
think that that also gets confusing for people. And I know that you had a post about this as well. So again, it's like your page is such a good guide
Thank
if people
you.
want to learn more after listening to this episode or while you're listening or whatever. But you talked about glycinate.
Hmm.
There's also 3 and 8. That's
Yes.
a good one for your brain, right?
Yeah, so we have glycinate, which is great for so many different issues, whether it's going to the bathroom or anxiety or sleep or muscle fatigue and muscle cramps. And then we have magnesium citrate. So, a really great way I like to remember this is citrate starts with a C, constipation starts with a C. So, magnesium citrate is great for constipation, although it shouldn't be used long term unless directed by a doctor, just because your body can get a little used to it. And then we have magnesium malate, which is so great for your muscle health. And then magnesium taurate, great for your heart health. We have magnesium chloride, which is a topical magnesium that you can spray on your skin. What else? Magnesium L-threonate, great for your brain function, for cognition, for memory. I feel like there's so many more I'm missing, but those are the most like popular ones. And typically you'll see magnesium complexes being sold, and they typically will have magnesium citrate with magnesium malate and glycinate, although there's so many different types out there. But sometimes it's nice to have a blend of magnesiums all in one capsule because then you can address different types of issues.
Yeah, that's what I take. I mean, sometimes I take the Symbiotica L-threonate because it's like dessert.
It tastes good.
It's like liposomal. You've probably had it, right? It
Yeah.
has that like
Vanilla.
vanilla coconut nectar. And I think I've shared about this before. Like I would take it at night instead of having something sweet. Like it would satisfy that sweet tooth
Hmm.
for me, and I would take it before bed. And then I also take the Ned Mellow, which is a blend of, I think it's 3 forms of chelated magnesium. So what's the difference between chelated and non?
So non-chelated won't absorb as well. Chelated, they just basically tweak it a little bit in the formula so that your body can absorb it better and utilize it properly.